Arolt will be in the center circle for the Spartans for the tip-off. Her and Olsen, and Arolt wins the tip. Halleck brings it down. She drives with the left hand, going right at it, misses the layup, and Van Sluten crashing in for the offensive rebound. She's going to bring it to the near corner, gives it to Tate on the left wing. She'll drive to the middle, kick it out to Halleck on top of the key. 15 on the shot clock. Halleck for three, off the rim short, rebounded by Jaden Simmons underneath. Right-handed layup is good.
2 early offensive rebounds for the Spartans, and they're in the press right away.
2-0 Michigan State. 9:30 to go here in the first quarter. We're just starting between Michigan and Michigan State women's basketball. Olsen has it for the Wolverines on top of the key, trying to get it to Hobbs on the left wing. Now on top to Camp Schrader on top of the key. 12 on the shot clock for the Wolverines as they'll work it around. Holloway has it, poked away by Van Sluten, out of bounds. Michigan will retain it, but with only 7 seconds on the shot clock.
And Michigan's not really moving on offense here in the early go, and kind of a lot of standing around there, but credit to the MSU defense there in the half court.
Holloway to inbound it. Simmons on her right in front of the MSU bench. She'll inbound it to top of the key to Swords. Swords will drive left hand, and she's called for too many steps.
It was good defense by the Spartans, just blocking her off before she's able to get into the paint, and now they'll be back on offense here.
Simmons will bring it up for Michigan State. They're working with a 2-0 lead with just under 9 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Arolt now has it, top of the paint. Kicks it out to Halleck on the left wing. Directing traffic, guarded by Swords. She'll give it back to Arolt on top of the key. She'll swing it around. Simmons will drive, right hand layup is good, and she has 4 early for Michigan State. Swords will bring it up. Guarded tightly by Halleck. She finally gets it over the half-court line, gives it to Olsen. Wolverines trail 4-0 to Michigan State. Olsen will drive, pretty move with the right hand, lays it up and in.
Nice drive there, and Van Sluten just unable to match her on defense.
It's now 4-2, Michigan State still out in front, 8:20 to go in the first quarter. Halleck has it in the near corner, gives it to Arolt on the left wing. She'll bring it to the top of the key. They'll work it around. Van Sluten will go with the right hand, but she's called for the offensive foul.
A good job there by the Wolverine player. I believe that was Hobbs. It took that, or excuse me, it was not Hobbs. Swords with the charge there, and Van Sluten had good positioning, had a good opportunity there, and we'll see how often they try to work the ball down to her on that low block.
Holloway will bring it up for the Wolverines. They trail the Spartans 4-2 with under 8 minutes to play in the first quarter. Olsen now has it on the left wing, kicks it back. They'll swing it around. Swords has it now on the right wing. Only 6 on the shot clock. Holloway gives it to Olsen. She'll work on Van Sluten. Drives baseline, puts it up on the side of the backboard. No good. Rebounded by Van Sluten. Arolt has it now for the Spartans. Gives it over to Simmons on the right wing. Michigan State trying to build on this 2-point lead early. Tate will drive behind the back. Kick it back out to Arolt on top of the key. Arolt will work with her right hand. Gives it to Van Sluten on the right block. She'll kick it out. Simmons for 3. It's good. Jaden Simmons with all 7 for the Spartans. They lead by 5.
And she's already got 7, and she's doing it in all types of ways. Driving to the basket, knocking down a 3 now, and a good start for Simmons, helping the Spartans out right now.
7-2 Michigan State. 7:02 to go in the first. Great start for the Spartans as Swords gets it, puts it up with the right hand, left it short, and a foul underneath. I believe this one will go on Swords on the rebound attempt. Michigan State basketball.
And I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit here real quick, Jacob. I think that might be the fastest we've ever got in the over-scoring game. Under 3 minutes in, and Jaden Simmons, great performance thus far.
She was glad you picked her, and she rewarded you nicely as Halleck now getting on the board for Michigan State. She drives with the right hand and lays it in.
She's been aggressive early, and now her first bucket. You love to see that if you're a Spartan fan.
Hobbs for 3 on the answer. No good. Rebounded by Julia Arolt. 6:30 to go here in the first. Spartans up by 7, 9-2. Impressive start for Michigan State, trying to add on. As that one's poked away, Halleck trying to give it to Arolt on top of the key, and now a jump for it. Camp Schrader rebounds it for the Wolverines. Now Olsen, 3-point attempt on the other side. It's good.
Nice move that time by Olivia Olsen. Step back off the dribble, knocking down the 3, and the Wolverines needed that one to go bad.
Spartans still up 9-5, under 6 minutes to play as Van Sluten was trying to get a cutting Simmons and just left it too high.
Just an unforced error that time by the Spartans. 2 turnovers, 4:01 into the game. 3 turnovers, 4:01 into the game for them, And they've been good from the field. They've been good shooting the ball, but it's probably the one thing that they're going to want to fix here going forward.
Some substitutions for Michigan State. Sotelo, Hampton, and Shoemate coming in for the Spartans. As Swords brings it up, gives it in the corner to Hobbs. Hobbs picks up her dribble, gives it now over to Camp Schrader in the corner. She's a dangerous three-point shooter for the Wolverines. Holloway has it now on top of the key, kicks it out to Hobbs. Hobbs will drive baseline. Beautiful move on Sotelo and lays it in with the left hand.
Now a quick 5-0 strike here for the Wolverines on a run. And
Shoemate trying to answer from deep, and she connects. Silences that 5-0 run by the Wolverines, and poked away by Nyla Hampton on the press attempt for the Spartans. Out of bounds on Michigan State. They'll stay with the Wolverines.
Big shot Shoe, and she had 4 threes. She connected on 4 threes on Sunday against Northwestern. She's been shooting the ball a little better from beyond the arc recently, and now she's 1 for 1 coming off the bench here today. And Emma Shoemate settling in. You know she doesn't like Michigan, the 2 schools she's played at in her collegiate career.
Holloway will bring it up. Camp Schrader, dangerous for 3, off the iron, no good. Had a wide open look, but offensive rebound by the Wolverines. Olsen kicks it out to Holloway. Holloway will drive with the left hand. Tough finish. She gets it to go.
Good job capitalizing on the second chance opportunity there for the Wolverines, and they're starting to settle in here offensively a little more now.
Sotelo swings it around to Shoemate on the left wing. Just about the same spot where she nailed a clutch 3 for Michigan State earlier. Halleck has it now, top of the key. She'll drive, great move, finishes with the left hand, but left it just a little bit short off the rim. Rebounded by Crockett, just checking in for the Wolverines. Holloway has it now. Jumper from the free throw line is pure.
That was a nice play. Coming in transition, able to slow it down, control herself, and pop that mid-range jumper. And all that quickly. Michigan's cut it down to a 1-point game here in the first. Good response.
12-11 Michigan State, 4:18 to go in the first quarter. Nyla Hampton with the basketball for the Spartans. Gives it to Sotelo on top of the key. Sotelo picks up her dribble, back to Hampton. 8 on the shot clock for Michigan State. Hampton will drive with her left hand, trying to get somewhere. Great defense by Holloway. Hampton will put it up, roll around and down. Hampton making something out of nothing for Michigan State. She beats the shot clock as she gets the steal on the press. Sotelo has it on the right block. Right back to Hampton, lays it up, no good, but draws the contact and the foul. What a great sequence for the captain for Michigan State.
Yeah, Nyla Hampton doing a little bit of everything there. Got the bucket originally, then immediately gets the steal. And when she gets the ball back after that steal, draws the foul, and she'll head to the line after this break.
Well, both offenses are clicking. Michigan State leads Michigan 14-11, and we'll take a break here on Impact 88.9 WDBM. The men's basketball team rounded out their homestand and hit the road to travel to Southern California. The women's basketball team welcomed in a West Coast foe of their own to the Breslin Center. And the wrestling team looked to get back into the win column.
Hello and welcome back into the Spartan Newsroom for an all-new episode of Spartan Sports Report. I'm Kyle Keegan.
And I'm Jacob Maurer. We've had some chilly weather here in East Lansing, Kyle, but for some of these Spartan teams, they've had a chance to travel to the West Coast for some warm weather.
And Jacob, that sunshine starts in a top 10 matchup in Southern California. Ranked Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yeah, the women's gymnastics team will look to bounce back. And Kyle, do you know what else bounces?
What else bounces, Jacob?
Basketballs. Let's start with the women's basketball team for Michigan State. They're ranked number 16 in the country, and they took on the Oregon Ducks last Thursday, which just so happens to be forward Grace Van Sluten's former team. Oregon came out with an explosive start, scoring 21 points in the first quarter against this good MSU defense.
On the other hand, though, MSU struggled to gain momentum, but is Van Sluten lighting the fire to get the Spartans on the board against a familiar foe. She had 14 points in this one, tied for the team lead. However, the Ducks were just too much to handle, sitting at a 12-point lead heading into the second half. This is where things got a little scrappy with this foul call heard around the world. MSU head coach Robyn Fralick, she can't believe it as she's teed up. The Ducks would connect from the charity stripe, adding to their lead. The Spartans failing to come back and suffering their first home loss of the season, 63-59. Despite the loss, Fralick only had good things to say about Van Sluten's performance against her former team.
Part of it's just the world we live in nowadays. I think that's pretty common. And Oregon's a pretty much completely different team from a year ago. So, I thought she did some really good things for us. Got us, especially in that first half, got us some points, got us going a little bit. But it's just kind of the world we live in now.
The Spartans look to bounce back on the road against the Northwestern Wildcats on Sunday afternoon. MSU started off struggling, going 0 from 5 from the three-point line in the opening 10 minutes, but they would pull through in the second quarter to go into halftime tied up at 40. Coming out of the break hot, the Spartans went on a 9-0 run and would lead for the rest of the game. MSU came away victorious, winning 89-75. Van Sluten was the top scorer in that one with 20 points. Michigan State improved to 18-4 on the season and jumped to 4th in the Big Ten standings. They will host the Michigan Wolverines on Sunday. Top 4 in the Big Ten standings. But Kyle, how about number 1?
That's right, Jacob. The first, the UCLA Bruins, tonight at 10 o'clock.
Coming off 2 disappointing conference losses, the wrestling team looked to redeem themselves against Clarion. Clarion taking control at the start with 125-pound Travis Clausen and 141-pound Gianni Silvestri, giving the Golden Eagles an 8-3 lead. All 3 seniors for MSU in the lineup winning their matches, as Tristan Lujan getting his victory at 133 and Jay Nivison and Marty Larkin helping push MSU to 27 unanswered points. Larkin also was one of 3 wrestlers to mercy their opponent, Braden Stauffenberg, and number 25, Remy Cotton, joining Larkin and winning their matches by tech fall, completing Michigan State's 30-8 victory. On top of the victory, MSU honored 5 senior wrestlers. The Spartans will now begin a gauntlet of 3 Big Ten matches on the road, starting in Evanston on Friday against Northwestern.
Florida.
Women's golf started off its spring season with a tournament in Puerto Rico this weekend on Sunday. The Spartans posted a team score of 1 under par, 287 to stand in 3rd place. After yesterday, Michigan State sits at 5 over par at 581 and are now tied with Kansas State for 7th place. Today, the Spartans teed off at 7:30 a.m. for the final round of the Purdue-Puerto Rico Classic.
Arena.
After 2 big wins last weekend, the women's tennis team was looking to continue its win streak in a doubleheader against Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan on Sunday. Western Michigan proved to be a tough opponent, winning the doubles points to take an early 1-0 lead. However, the Spartans dominated in singles play, with Natalie Stasny evening the score as she defeated her opponent 6-0, 6-1. Amara Brombat and Oriana Parkins-Godwin were quick to follow, both winning their matches to put the Spartans up 3-1. It would be senior Lisa Vevalainen to clinch the MSU victory with a 6-3, 6-4 win. Against Eastern Michigan, MSU started off strong with Vevalainen and freshman Ellie Blackford sweeping Eastern's #1 doubles team 6-0. Brombat and Parkins-Godwin secured the doubles point for MSU, and the Spartans carried this momentum into singles play as 3 Spartans swept their opponents. Redshirt sophomore Hannah Tiavitz started off in a back-and-forth matchup but got hot and went on an 11-game run, dominating her opponent. The Spartans defeated the Eagles 4-0 and extend their winning streak to 4 games. MSU will travel to Lynchburg, Virginia to take on James Madison and Liberty University next week.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Spartan Sports Report.
For more content, make sure to check out all of our social medias and visit the Spartan Newsroom website. I'm Jacob Maurer.
And I'm Kyle Keegan, and we'll see you right back here next week.
Packed up action. It's Friday night, and we have a good one for you here tonight. A top 5 competition for the right to the driver's seat in the Big Ten Conference. Hello, everyone. I'm Jacob Maurer, alongside Brian Rector, live here at Munn Ice Arena for the Big Ten Plus pregame show for this matchup between number 4 Minnesota and number 2 Michigan State. And Brian, we're just about 30 minutes away from puck drop here at Munn Ice Arena. It's not often that we get to do these shows live here at the arena, but you can tell the tension, the energy, the Spartan fans starting to fill in, as well as the Gopher fans who made the trip over to East Lansing. This one's going to be a fun one.
It certainly will, and it's not very often, as you alluded to, that we get moments quite like this. There's a lot to play for tonight. As we're flipping from January into February, it just continues to heat up, and I can't wait to get this thing underway between two teams that truly are titans of the sport.
Yeah, and only 1 point separating Minnesota and Michigan State in the Big Ten standing. Spartans currently in first place, but that may be because of their previous meeting 6 weeks ago. Both these teams squared off in Minneapolis. Michigan State and Minnesota tying the first game 3-3. Michigan State getting the shootout point there. But then in game number 2, Spartans having a 5-3 come from behind victory. Spartans taking 5 out of the 6 points in that weekend. And right now, Brian, that's the difference.
It certainly is. You say 5 of the 6. It's a 1-point differential in this Big Ten Conference. And I am just so excited to continue to see how this thing continues to unfold and how we'll be headed towards the postseason here.
Yeah, and in that matchup against Michigan State and Minnesota, it was a close one. At the time, Minnesota was ranked number 1 in the country. The Spartans were ranked number 3, but after that performance by Michigan State, they took on number 1. But both these teams still sitting in the top 5, looking very, very comfortable. They are 2 of the best college hockey programs in the country.
And one thing that we have to mention, because it proved to be important in the initial series, you see a look at the shots there, and particularly take a look for me at the number of blocks that we saw between these two schools. Unafraid to give up the body. And I did want to touch, though, Jacob, on the goaltenders. We'll see Erie, and then we'll see another goaltender as well for Minnesota, Soulaire. I'm intrigued to know what happens between both of them and how they are uncovered here in this 2-game series.
Well, it's not what you've done for me, it's what you've done for me lately. That's what they always say. And both these teams were in action last weekend. We'll start with Minnesota. They hosted the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, had a dominant 5-2 victory in game number 1. They outshot the Irish 46-15 in game number 1. In game number 2, however, got a little bit closer. Notre Dame taking that to overtime and beating the Gophers in overtime. So Minnesota only getting 4 out of the 6 points in that weekend, something that they wanted back.
Absolutely. And one thing to note is that Jimmy Snuggerud was all over this one, as well as Cal Thomas were key goal scorers. For Minnesota in the second game, that was an overtime loss. They had 1 goal in each period. It was a balanced again with the defensemen, Luke Mittelstadt, as well as Matthew Wood, notching their name into the goal sheet. So I'm excited to see what Minnesota brings out in terms of the offensive weaponry and the cavalry, as some might say, here. And they'll need it against Michigan State.
And they'll be looking for revenge here tonight after their Saturday loss against Notre Dame. They'll be facing off against Michigan State, who was also in action last weekend. They faced off against their in-state rival, the number 10 ranked Michigan Wolverines. That was a home-and-home series. Michigan State started in Ann Arbor in game 1. Spartans lost a close one. They were up 2-1 in the third period.
fell 3-2 in overtime, but then brought game number 2 right here at Munn Ice Arena and were dominant in game number 2. But like Minnesota, getting only 4 out of the 6 points on the weekend.
That's right. And I think in game number 1, I looked at Tiernan Shouty, who was awesome in the faceoff circle, 13 wins, 8 losses. And they were able to put up 37 shots, which is just right on that season average. Then in game 2, it was Charlie Strammel who brought it home, as well as Basgul, Van Soggy, and then Strammel again. He has 21 points this year, which are more than his first 2 years of college hockey combined.
And Michigan State, as I mentioned before, they only got 4 out of the 6 points on that weekend, and they were currently number 1 last weekend. They fell a spot, as did Minnesota. And we'll take a look at the USCHO rankings. Both teams, Michigan State last week was number 1, Minnesota last week was number 3. Because of their splits, they fall down a spot, but still remain in that top 5 because all the voters know these are 2 of the best programs in college hockey. And you have to think that a good weekend here at East Lansing for either team would help them boost back up.
Most certainly. That's absolutely right. And what we saw was that Michigan State received quite a few of the first place votes, at 13 of them. Western Michigan, you look at an in-state battle. That's another opportunity where Michigan State and the Western Michigan Broncos were able to face off earlier. But then, Jacob, take a look at 9th and 10th with Ohio State and Michigan, schools that are just down the road, just to the south, respectively. They're hanging right in there. It's also worth noting that Penn State and Wisconsin received votes in this poll, but did not make the top 20 at this moment in time.
Yeah, and you can see in the top 10, 4 Big Ten teams. That's why it makes it imperative that Michigan State and Minnesota, they stand on the top. That shows that they're just the alpha dogs in this conference. And really, to be 1-2 and this slate of teams where any weekend is always a concern. You have to bring your A game to every single game in the Big Ten. I think that's why we like college hockey, and especially Big Ten hockey, and why this matchup is so big here tonight.
Well, and it's also worth noting that quite a few of those top 10 teams are leading the top 10 in terms of overall attendance as well. It makes you wonder, what is it like to be at your home barn as Michigan State is today? And as we continue on, you just understand that these communities in the Northeast, in the Big Ten kind of geographical region, are really coming alive, really caring about their hockey, because as we alluded to a couple days ago, and even earlier in this coverage, that it's not very fun right now to be outside. So let's come inside and enjoy it while we have it.
Yeah, and this week in Michigan, it was so super cold, so why not go inside and continue to watch ice? I think that's why we love this game so much. But you mentioned Munn Ice Arena. I love this arena, and it works well for Michigan State because you can kind of see from behind us that it's a low-hanging roof, which means that the sound just bounces off the roof and goes straight to the ice, which makes it very intimidating for any opponent, and is why Michigan State has had such good success and a big advantage here on Friday night to have it on their home ice.
Most definitely. Another detail to go along with that is that Munn Ice Arena and Michigan State is 5th overall in terms of total attendance and subsequently average attendance. But what I find interesting, Jacob, is that 112% of the average attendance is, the average capacity is totaled with their attendance. So there are about 800 folks in standing room only situation. That will create a big, big advantage.
And you have to wonder how many more will be here tonight, because it's not that often that Michigan State gets a top 5 opponent while they're also in the top 5. And to see that here at Munn Ice Arena, that's pretty rare, especially considering the implications, especially in the Big Ten standings, and also the rankings as well. But this just goes a long way to build each team's resume.
Well, it's been so long since we played for this type of pageantry, right? And this type of implication, as you said. In fact, for Michigan State, it's an opportunity to get off to your best start in how long? 2 decades almost? I just can't believe that we're here, and it's not even February yet.
Well, I don't know if there is a better sport out there here tonight. NBA, NHL, college football is over. NFL doesn't start till Sunday.
I think we have the best sports matchup right here on Big Ten Plus, a top 5 matchup to determine who will take control of the Big Ten. Minnesota and Michigan State, more pregame coverage coming your way on Big Ten Plus.